So, hello and welcome back yet again to another evening with Alice and all of her adventures in Wonderland and through the looking glass, where yesterday we played a very silly game of croquet and I complained about the weather, which I'm going to still do because we're still chilly. I know it looks bright out there, but it's very, very gray as well and a little bit drizzly. I know that we need this kind of weather. It just always gets me down. I'm ready for the sun to come back out and recharge my solar batteries because, of course, I run on solar. Also, I like it because when the sun is out, I can do laundry and hang it out on the line. One of my favorite things to do. I wonder if the Queen actually wears clothing. I mean, looking at the pictures, they're at least wearing hoods and robes. So maybe the cards wear clothing? Interesting idea. I don't know if I believe it or not, but it's an interesting idea. And I'm not really sure what we're doing in this next chapter because it's got an interesting title. And I don't see what that has to do with the Queen or croquet, but I guess we're going to find out as we jump back in and read yet more of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll with Chapter 9, The Mock Turtle's Story. This is kind of scary, and the illustration that I can see already is a little bit scary to me. But we'll see what happens. You can't think how glad I am to see you again, you dear thing, said the Duchess, as she tucked her arm into Alice's and they walked off together. Alice was very glad to find the Duchess in such a pleasant temper, and thought to herself that maybe it was only the pepper that had made her so savage when they had met back in the kitchen. When I'm a Duchess, she said to herself, in a very not hopeful tone, I won't have any pepper in my kitchen at all. Soup does very well without it. Maybe it's always pepper that makes people hot-tempered. She said that, very much pleased at having found out some new sort of rule. And vinegar that makes them sour, and chamomile that makes them bitter, and barley sugar and things like that that make children sweet-tempered. I only wish people knew that. Then they wouldn't be so stingy about the barley sugar, you know. Alice had completely forgotten the Duchess by this time, and was a little startled when she heard her voice close to her ear. You're thinking about something, my dear, and that makes you forget to talk. I can't tell you just now what the moral of that is, but I'll remember in a bit. Maybe it doesn't have one, said Alice. Tut, tut, child, said the Duchess. Everything's got a moral, if only you can find it. And she squeezed herself up close by Alice's side as she spoke. Alice did not much like her keeping so close. First, because the Duchess was very ugly. And second, because she was exactly the right height to rest her chin on Alice's shoulder, and it was a very sharp chin. However, she didn't want to be rude, so she put up with it as well as she could. The game's going on rather better now, she said, by way of keeping up the conversation a little. 'Tis so, said the Duchess. And the moral of that is, oh, 'tis love that makes the world go round. And we have a picture of the Duchess and her remarkable hat. Somebody said, Alice whispered, that it's done by everybody minding their own business. Ah, well, it means much the same thing, said the Duchess, digging her sharp little chin into Alice's shoulder as she added, and the moral of that is, take care of the scents, and the sounds will take care of themselves. fond she is of finding morals in things, Alice thought. I dare say you're wondering why I don't put my arm around your waist, said the Duchess after a pause. The reason is that I'm doubtful about the temper of your flamingo. Shall I try it? He might bite, said Alice cautiously, not feeling at all anxious to have this experiment tried. Very true, said the Duchess. Flamingos and mustard both bite, and the moral of that is birds of a feather flock together. But mustard isn't a bird, said Alice. Right as usual, said the Duchess. What a clear way you have of putting things. I think it's a mineral, said Alice. Of course it is, said the Duchess, who seemed ready to agree to everything Alice said. There's a large mustard machine near here, and the moral of that is, the more there is of mine, the less there is of yours. Oh, I know, said Alice, who had not listened to the latest remark. It's a vegetable. It doesn't look like one, but it is. I quite agree with you, said the Duchess. And the moral of that is, be what you would seem to be, or, if you'd like to put it more simply, never imagine yourself not to be otherwise than what might appear to others as what you were or might have been was not otherwise what you had been that would have appeared to them to be otherwise. I think I should understand that better, said Alice politely, if I had it written down, but I can't quite follow what you're saying. There's nothing to what I could say if I chose, said the Duchess in a pleased voice. Please don't trouble yourself to say it any longer than that, said Alice. Oh, don't talk about trouble, said the Duchess. I make you a present of everything I have said so far. A cheap sort of present, thought Alice. I'm glad people don't give birthday presents like that. But she didn't say that out loud. Thinking again, said the Duchess, with another dig of her little sharp chin. I've a right to think, said Alice sharply, for she was beginning to feel a bit worried. Just about as much right, said the Duchess, as pigs have to fly, and the more... But here, to Alice's great surprise, the Duchess's voice died away, even in the middle of her favorite word, moral, and the arm that was linked into Alice's began to tremble. Alice looked up, and there stood the Queen in front of them, with her arms folded, frowning like a thunderstorm. A fine day, Your Majesty, said the Duchess in a low, weak voice. Now I give you fair warning, shouted the Queen, stamping the ground as she spoke. Either you or your head must be off, and that in about half of no time. Take your choice. The Duchess made her choice, and was gone in a heartbeat. Let's go on with the game, the Queen said to Alice, and Alice was too much frightened to say a word, so she slowly followed her back to the croquet ground. The other guests had taken advantage of the Queen's absence, and they were resting in the shade. However, the moment they saw her, they all hurried back to the game. The Queen merely remarked that a moment's delay would cost them their lives. All the time they were playing, the Queen never left off quarreling with the other players and shouting, "Off with his head!" or "Off with her head!" Those who she sentenced were taken into custody by the soldiers, who of course had to leave off becoming arches to do this, so that by the end of half an hour or so, there were no arches left, and all of the players except the King, Queen, and Alice were in custody and under the sentence of execution. Then the Queen left off, quite out of breath, and said to Alice, Have you seen the Mock Turtle yet?" "No," said Alice. "I don't even know what a Mock Turtle is." "It is the thing Mock Turtle soup is made from," said the Queen. "I never saw or heard of one," said Alice. "Come on, then," said the Queen, "and he shall tell you his history." As they walked off together, Alice heard the King say in a low voice to the general company, "You are all pardoned." "Come, that's a good thing," thought Alice, for she had felt quite unhappy at the number of executions that the Queen had ordered. Very soon they came upon a griffin lying fast asleep in the sun. If you don't know what a griffin is, look at this picture. He's a very handsome griffin. "Up, lazy thing," said the Queen, "and take this young lady to see the Mock Turtle and to hear his history. I must go back and look after some executions I've ordered." And then she walked off, leaving Alice alone with the griffin. Alice didn't really like the look of the creature, but on the whole she thought it would be quite as safe to stay with it as to go with the savage Queen, so she waited. The griffin sat up and rubbed its eyes, and then it watched the Queen until she was out of sight, and then it chuckled, "What fun!" half to itself and half to Alice. "What is fun?" said Alice. "Why, said the griffin, "it is all her fancy that they never execute anyone. You know that. Come on." "Everybody says 'come on' here," thought Alice, as she went slowly after it. "I never was so ordered around in all of my life. Never." They had not gone far before they saw the Mock Turtle in the distance, sitting sad and lonely on a little rock, and as they came nearer, Alice could hear him sighing as though his heart would break. She pitied him deeply. What is his sorrow?" she asked the griffin. And the griffin said, very nearly the same words as before, "It's all his fancy. That he hasn't got no sorrow. You know, come on." So they went up to the Mock Turtle, who looked at them with large eyes full of tears, but said nothing. "This here young lady," said the griffin, "she wants to know your history, she do." "I'll tell her," said the Mock Turtle in a deep, hollow voice. "Sit down, both of you, and don't speak a word till I've finished." So they sat down, and nobody spoke for some minutes, and Alice thought to herself, "I don't think to see how he can ever finish if he doesn't begin." But she waited patiently. "Once," said the Mock Turtle at last with a deep sigh, "I was a real turtle." Those words were followed by a very long silence, broken only by the occasional exclamation of "Hurrah!" from the griffin, and the constant sobbing of the Mock Turtle. Alice was very nearly getting up and saying, "Thank you, sir, for your interesting story," but she could not help thinking that there must be more to come, so she sat still and said nothing. "When we were little," the Mock Turtle went on at last, a little more calmly, though still sobbing now and then, "we went to a school in the sea. The master was an old turtle. We used to call him Tortoise." "Why did you call him Tortoise if he wasn't one?" said Alice. "We called him Tortoise because he taught us," said the Mock Turtle. "Really, you're very dull." "You ought to be ashamed of yourself for asking such a simple question," said the griffin. And then they both sat silent, and they looked at poor Alice, who felt ready to sink into the earth. At last the Gryphon said to the Mock Turtle, "Drive on, old fellow. Don't be all day about it." And he went on in these words: "Yes, we went to school in the sea, though you mayn't believe it." "I never said I didn't," interrupted Alice. "You did," said the Mock Turtle. "Hold your tongue," said the Gryphon, before Alice could say another word. And then the Mock Turtle went on. "We had the best of educators. In fact, we went to school every day." "I've been to a day school too," said Alice. "You needn't be as proud as all that." "With extras?" said the Mock Turtle a bit anxiously. "Yes," said Alice. "We learned French and music." "And washing?" said the Mock Turtle. "Certainly not," Alice told him. "Ah, then yours wasn't really a good school," said the Mock Turtle in a tone of great relief. "Now at ours, they had, at the end of the bill, French, music, and washing, extra." "You couldn't have wanted it very much," said Alice, "living at the bottom of the sea." "I couldn't afford to learn it," said the Mock Turtle with a sigh. "I only took the regular course." "What was that?" Alice asked. "Reeling and writhing, of course, to begin with," said the Mock Turtle. "And then the different branches of arithmetic: ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision." "I've never heard of uglification," Alice said. "What is it?" The Gryphon lifted up both of its paws in surprise. "Never heard of uglifying?" it said. "You know what to beautify is, I suppose." "Yes," said Alice doubtfully. "It means to make anything prettier." "Well then," the Gryphon said, "if you don't know what to uglify is, you're a simpleton." Alice did not feel encouraged to ask any more questions about this, so she turned to the Mock Turtle and said, "What else did you learn?" "Well, there was mystery," the Mock Turtle replied, counting off the subjects on its flappers. "Mystery, ancient and modern, with seaography, and then drawling. The drawling master was an old conger eel that used to come once a week. He taught us drawling, stretching, and fainting in coils." "What was that like?" Alice asked. "Well, I can't show it to you myself," said the Mock Turtle. "I'm too stiff, and the Gryphon never learned it." "Didn't have time," said the Gryphon. "I went to the classical master, though. He was an old crab, he was." "I never went to him," said the Mock Turtle. "He taught laughing and grief, they said." "So he did, so he did," said the Gryphon, sighing again, and both of the creatures hid their faces in their paws. "And how many hours a day did you do lessons?" said Alice, trying to change the subject. 10 hours the first day," said the Mock Turtle, "and 9 the next, and so on." "What a curious plan," said Alice. "That's the reason they're called lessons, because they lessen from day to day." This was quite a new idea to Alice, and she thought it over a little before saying her next remark. "Then the 11th day must have been a holiday?" "Of course it was," said the Mock Turtle. "And how did you manage the 12th?" said Alice eagerly. "That's enough about lessons," the Gryphon interrupted. "Tell her something about the games next." And that is the end of the chapter. That was another weird one. I feel like I say that at the end of every single chapter. Was just remark, well, that was a weird one, wasn't it? So, the mock turtle who went to school to be uglified. Looking at the picture of the mock turtle, it kind of looks like either a pig or an aardvark's head on top of a turtle with pig hooves. Like, I don't know if you saw that. He's got pig hooves and a pig head, but turtle flippers. I do like the griffin, though. I think the griffin is very cool looking. And I guess, eager for the next chapter to see what the next bunch of nonsense that the mock turtle tells us about. I'm also not really sure about the Duchess, or the Queen, or the King. It's a good thing the King pardoned everybody, because I can't see that they would have very many people in their kingdom if the Queen beheads them all. Anyway, that was fun. Thank you for listening. I hope that you enjoyed that chapter as much as I enjoyed reading it and was confused by it. Please do hit the thumbs up on your way out and explain the story to me in the comments below if you know this story more deeply than I do, because right now I just think that they've all been hitting that hookah a little bit too hard. That being said, I'm enjoying it. So thank you so much, and I will see you later.